I am so excited to have our Africa team share with you today. It was such a powerful and life-changing 2 weeks for all of us that went. But I'm going to have Jackie come first, but before she comes, I just want us to give her tremendous honor. Joel is in Wyoming. He had to go back to work, and so he's not here today. But this is an example of a life poured out, a life laid down for a project and a dream that the Lord gave her. And her organization made the trip just run so smoothly. And just Joel was such a protection over all of us, watching out like a dad for all of us and caring for us. And Jackie just had everything from making sure we had snacks all the time, that we had water, that we just were really well cared for and knew the plan of every single day. And so as she comes forward, would you just honor her for the gift and the treasure that she is? So well.
Thank you. I'm going to start by just, Joel can't be here, and I'm really sorry. Sorry that he can't be here. He's such an honoring person. I just, when he stands up in their church services, the first thing he does is honor their pastor, honor the people, encourage them, and it's fun as a wife to see that, in your husband. And so I'm sorry he can't be here with you, but I know he wanted to be. But anyway, I'm going to start by doing an overview of the 2.5 weeks. And we had literally thousands of photos. I've narrowed it down to 100. So, and that was a lot of work. But I want you to just get an idea. I'm just going to flow through the 2 weeks, and then when I'm done with that, we're going to have the whole team come, and they're going to share with you 1 or 2 highlights of their experience, good or bad. I told them, good or bad, I don't care. But we just want you to have a full kind of understanding when you leave today of what our time in Africa was like. So if we could start, and I'm just going to have to say, next slide, please. And can we take these bright lights off? Is that possible? Those, oh, thank you. Okay, next. So, Pastor Canaan, the pastor that we went to serve, he and his wife are extreme entrepreneurs. And they literally started with 1,000 kwacha back in 1995, which is worth about $2 in our time today. And they started business. And today, they have several businesses going, as well as running a church and overseeing. He has an apostolic ministry. He has at least 35 churches underneath him that he oversees all the time. So they're tremendous, tremendous people. And one of their businesses, they went to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, and they bought 2 Toyota minivans that seat about 16 people, and they run them every day as a taxi. And so they rented one to us for the time that we were there, and we drove it the whole time. Not your typical American taxi. But I don't know that I even want to go into any more details than that, but it got us where we wanted to go and back, and we were very grateful. So there we were with our taxi, which had an advertisement for some soap that we don't know what it was. But anyway, so next. This is where we stayed. We stayed, while we were in Malawi, we stayed at a camp called Mabuye. And it's really a youth hostel place. So they had dorm facilities, room facilities. We had an outdoor kitchen that we could use. So we were self-catering. We cooked all our own meals. It was fun. This is in that campground, and the jacaranda trees were in bloom, and they were stunning, stunning. Then, after we arrived, so we left here Wednesday evening. Let me just back up a bit. 7 o'clock at night. We flew to Seattle, took a 10 o'clock red-eye out of Seattle to JFK. Then got on a plane at 10 in the morning and flew for 14 hours across the Atlantic and down Africa to Johannesburg, South Africa. Had a few hour layover there, then got on another plane and flew to Lilongwe, Malawi. That was a couple of hours. So by the time we got there, we were kind of getting pretty done, but we still had a lot to do. So one of the things we did was we took our grocery list for the week, and I had split it up into 7 or 8 items, and I just handed them out to the team members and said, go find them. And that was kind of an experience, but it was a lot of fun, and it helped me greatly. So here we were coming back from the shopping mall, and which was actually pretty nice, and filling our van with all of our goodies we had bought. Okay. On Saturday, we took the team to Lake Malawi. Lake Malawi is in size and depth. It is in the top 10 in the world. It's a massive lake, and so we just wanted the team to see it. It kind of would be a tragedy to go all that way and not see Lake Malawi. So we went there for the day. And next. It was a resort that we went to was built by the British in the 1930s, so there's some little bit of that history, and we wanted the people to touch that. So it was quite a stunning place. We had a wonderful meal where they could have the chomba, which is the lake fish that it's known for, and some of them chose to do that. Some of them chose to do it full-bodied with the eyeballs and head and everything, and some did it otherwise, but it was good. Next. Then Sunday morning, we went to Pastor Canaan's for church, and we had church. Let me tell you, that was Pastor John. He's one of the pastors under Pastor Canaan, and he was our interpreter for the whole time we were in Malawi. Amazing man. Go ahead. So Joel shared, Brad shared, Chris shared a word, and then we did our skit. And that was a lot of fun to do. And I think we learned a lot. So, next. And worship. Let me tell you, they know how to worship. And at the end of everything, we're going to try, I say, to do an African song for you. We'll see how well we do. But anyway, next. Isn't that lovely? Next. Look at those cuties. Now, Pastor Canaan's church is in the city of Lilongwe, so he does deal with a wealthier class of Africans, not by what we would consider our standards, but by their standards, they have more available, let's say, to them. So, next. When Monday started, so really Saturday and Sunday were kind of low-key days for us, but they were key days because we were driving, we were seeing things, that we were letting the team get acclimated to the area, to the senses, to just everything that was African before we took them out of the city and into the villages and into the schools. And that was key. And I think it was very important. They needed that time to acclimate before we really sent them into the villages. But Mondays through Fridays, we went to 2 schools basically every day. And sometimes it was 2 old schools that we had been to before. Sometimes it was 2 new schools we'd never been to. Sometimes it was a mix of one from before and one brand new one. But we just exposed the team to the rigors and the hecticness, the everything of these African schools. And we would pull up, and now, just, you can't picture an American school at all. But we would pull up, and they were supposed to have cleared it with the headmaster that we were coming. And sometimes that happened, but sometimes the headmaster wasn't there, and he hadn't bothered to tell the deputy headmaster that we were coming. And so we would just rock up, and they would go, "Oh, hello, who are you?" And so we would just say, "This is who we are, and this is what we're doing." And it's basically, if you just came up to a school and said, "We want to take all of your kids out of your classrooms and do an assembly over here, while some of our members take all of your teachers and have a meeting over here." And I mean, that would never fly in America, but they were like, "Sure, go ahead," you know. And so literally, we would just take all of their kids out of their classroom, and you know, we would have an assembly, and it was amazing. And so the very first school we went to Monday morning, I asked Chris Sonlin if she would come with me and be part of the teaching thing, because I wanted her to see that part. And it's a good thing I did, because I never saw her again. Once she touched the kids, she was undone, and that was it. She was with them all the time. So I was glad I got her Monday morning. So next. So those of us that were involved, and occasionally we'd take some of the other teammates and have them go with us. We would talk to the teachers, Joel and I, and we would do a simple training session on the lap desk, the PAL, and how to use it, and the teacher's manual, and the stuff that was in it, and how they could coordinate their lessons, and all of that stuff. So we would do that, and then we would present them with the PALs, and so we tried to get pictures of it in all the different schools. Next. And then the rest of the team would be doing a skit with all of the kids outside, and they literally would be swarmed with kids. There was one school we went to that we were totally, nothing I don't think could have prepared us for it. It had 3,000 children. They had 59 teachers, and we thought, "Oh my gosh, this is, like, how do you do this?" And then we left that school, and we immediately went to another school. 6,000 kids, 65 teachers. And it was like, this is bigger than Gonzaga University. And, you know, it doesn't take much math to figure out that's 100 kids per teacher. And some of the teachers were telling us that they have up to 300 kids in their class. You know, and your head's just spinning, and we just weren't prepared. We didn't have enough teachers' manuals. I mean, you know, so our work is cut out for us. We have to return next year. We've got to touch those schools and bring them some more. But we did what we could do. So next, we gave a soccer ball or 2 to every school we went to. And we have some champion soccer ball players, and they were always out there with the kids, and that was fun. We also took jump ropes to the schools, and they loved having jump ropes. And the crazy thing is, you're halfway around the world, and you bring out a jump rope, and they immediately know what it is. They know how to double dutch. They know it. So there you go. And the yellow ball is a net ball. The girls play a game kind of similar to basketball in the sense that a ball goes through a hoop, but other than that, that's about it. And where we could, we gave out some net balls so the girls could have those. There's Brad and Tori having fun with some of the kids. This is a classroom. So on Tuesday morning, we're headed out, and I think Chris Knowlton was driving, sitting with Joel. And gosh, we were driving and driving and driving and driving. And just to be honest, we both started to complain just a little bit, like, hey, man, where are we headed? Is this worth it to take all the team's time to go so far? And maybe we should have done, insisted on doing some schools closer. And let me tell you, we repented quickly when we got to this school. So we're driving down the road, we get to the little town of Salima, we pick up this pastor. We turn to the left and we head into this little valley, and they start explaining to us that there is no school at all in this valley. And there is a government school on the other side of the highway about 15 miles away. There's no way the kids can get there. So these kids have had no education. And this pastor decided that he would build a school. So he built 2 classrooms, first grade and second grade. This is the first grade classroom. There were 77 kids in attendance when we were there. The next one, this is the second grade classroom. There were 84 in attendance. And quite a few of these kids were 14 and 15 years old, second grade. So when we left them with the PAL on Tuesday and teachers' manuals, 2 teachers, volunteers, they don't get paid. They were just ecstatic. And the kids were so ecstatic. Friday, Pastor Kanan got a text from this pastor that said the kids themselves were so excited about receiving the PALs that they've been out telling the other kids in the villages, and by Friday they had 35 more students register for school. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so we got to hand out some notebooks and pencils at that school that someone else had donated, and for some reason they just kept them and let us hand them out. School had only started like 2 weeks ago, same basic schedule as ours, so there was Reese sitting. He was so much fun. Okay. Wednesday morning, we drove into one of the schools we'd been at before, and there, sitting outside, was a classroom using the PAL. I cannot even begin to tell you the overwhelming sense of joy that I felt at seeing a dream that I've carried for so many years in fruition. It was amazing. Amazing. There was Carrie handing out a netball. Some of her co-workers gave her money to buy some. That was awesome. Okay. Kids, just overwhelming. Okay. Here we are in another classroom with some of the teachers doing a training. Go ahead. Karen Fosberg, who doesn't go to our church, she goes to one, came with us. She's been a couple times to Africa. Good friend, a lot of us know her, okay? More kids outside. More kids. Yeah, okay. One of the days that we were on that Monday through Friday, we took some time in the early afternoon and we walked around in the villages. And a couple of days we actually got to spend a little bit of time. And just let God just bring ministry opportunities to us. So go ahead. We were praying over some ground that they want to build a church on. This is a well that the government has put in. They can drink the water, they can wash their clothes in the water, but they can't irrigate any crops with it. So this is one of the churches that Pastor Kanan oversees. Then people manage to make their bricks and put up the sides, but they don't have the funds to roof it. So there's several churches like that. But it's just some of the little kids. This was This was the church that we built several years ago, where we actually put up proper posts, steel posts and trusses, and the men, in 1 week's time, we went from nothing on the ground to a church. That was a lot of fun. This little boy, in 2012, when Ann Apperson, who's sitting in the back, went with us for her first trip, this little boy had malaria, severe malaria, and we were able to pray for him, and we were able to give his mother some funds to take him to the clinic and get medication, and she wanted us to see this was her son, and he's doing well today, so that was exciting. My grandson, Tyler, gave me a soccer ball several months ago and said, "Grandma, will you take this soccer ball and give it to some kids in Africa?" And so that, for me, was very exciting. Noelle had made a whole bunch of bracelets that she was able to give out to some of the kids in this one church. That was pretty amazing and fun. And Joyce, our Joyce, she made quite a few necklaces and gave them to me. And next picture, please. We gave them, in this one church we were at, to the ladies, and they were so excited to get something. And it was just so fun to have a gift to give. Anyway, it was fun. And we were able to pray for, or some of the team members prayed for a little boy who was crippled. Yeah. And this is it's actually a pump, so the kids can play. It's like a merry-go-round, but while they're merry-go-rounding, they're actually pumping water up into a container, and then it comes out. You can see in the back where the blue bucket is, you can see the water coming out, and they fill their buckets. So kind of ingenious way to, yeah, cool. Another little child that we were praying for. This is the big smile. That's Pastor Canaan, and he's just an amazing man of God. Okay. This mama had a little baby that also had malaria, and Carrie was able to pray with her. Several of the others did, and if you just touched that baby, that baby was so hot. And they prayed for her, and we gave her funds, and were able to send her to the clinic. And I asked Pastor Canaan, I said, what would happen if this baby doesn't get some help? And he just said, "Oh, it'll die. That's the only other option. Either God heals them, or they get some medicine. There's no other option." So I was very, very blessed that we were there at that time and could touch that child's life. So Thursday evening, we had an opportunity to go to the Rotary Club. And you think, well, why would you go to Malawi and go to the Rotary Club? But we have connected with the Downtown Rotary, which is Downtown 21, at 21 meaning they're the 21st Rotary in the world to have started back in the 1800s, I think. And Malawi is almost, they're like 7,900 and something is their number. But the connection between the two, and since we've been back, we had a meeting last Friday with our Rotary here. They are so excited about our project, and they want to do a fundraising project with us. And the key was we needed to connect with the Rotary in Malawi. We needed to get them names, email, phone numbers, all this stuff, make the connection, and now they're going to do the follow-up and do some fundraising for us, and it literally will be thousands of dollars that they can raise for us. So it was very exciting. And while we were there, we just kind of walked in. They had said, "We meet, if you can come." But I don't think they really thought we would, but we just showed up, and for some reason, their district governor, who is over Zambia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and northern Mozambique, was at this meeting, and he was there to present somebody with some kind of an award. Well, and that person couldn't be there. And then there was something else on their agenda that person couldn't be there, and a third. So their whole meeting had kind of fallen apart. They didn't have any of the people that they were going to present or do whatever that night, and in we walk. And they basically gave us the meeting. And so we were able to share our project with them. Go ahead. One of their members immediately picked it up. She's a doctor of education, got her doctorate in Hawaii. She sat down on the floor, showed them how it works, talked to them about it. Go ahead. And then this is the district governor, and he basically just picked it up and said, "We're doing this. There's no question about this. We are doing this." So he took a PAL and a teacher's manual. He was headed back to Zimbabwe the next day. You know, who knows? God is the networker. We're not. He is. So, and then, you know, just traveling around. Africa's fun. It's just hilarious sometimes. But so we wanted to show you some of the things we saw. So, you know, the oxen cart, that's pretty typical. Sometimes they have donkeys. The bags are coal that are for sale, and not for heat, but for cooking your food outside over. The truck, that's all bananas. And then the bicycles, they have loads of, I think that's cassava that they have. Cassava is a root that they grind up and make a porridge out of. We better know it as tapioca. So, these are long drop covers. If you need to ask, maybe I better tell you. They have little foot markings and to help you position yourself, and there you go. That's the toilet. So, these guys, I think this might be sugar cane. I'm not sure. There's Noel under beautiful flowering shrubs, stunning flowers they have. The typical, I mean, we were amazed at what they can balance on their heads. Those are all dried fish. Yeah. And we loved the signage. So, I don't know, can you guys read that? Can you read it? Anything goes, general dealers? And then in the green, it's 5D medicine shop. I don't know why 5D, but anyway. Lord's mercy investment. I thought that was hilarious. Okay, and this one was our favorite. We never figured out what the other 1% was. But it's fun. You just have to have fun. So then Saturday, actually, I'm wrong. Saturday morning we got up early and we headed to Zambia. And the first part of the trip, we really tell everybody, that's getting you into Africa. You know, we wanted the team to get there. We wanted them to do what they were supposed to do. And then when we go to Zambia, the emphasis there is getting Africa into the people. And that's what we tried to do. We did visit some schools there, but we really just tried to take advantage of what Africa has to offer. So, this is where we stayed. Stunning, I am not kidding, stunning place. There's the team. You can see the baboons walking, yeah. So, two-legged and four-legged baboons. But this was just right outside where our chalets were that we were, you know. I mean, we saw elephants every day. We did a barbecue. We barbecued T-bone steaks on the barbecue one night, and you know, the elephants are just right there. So, yeah. We had our own private little gazebo. We had our own private little kitchen in our chalet unit. And every night we had our meals around the table under this gazebo. It was wonderful. And we were on the border of the South Luangwa National Park. And between us and the park was a river. And at this time of year, it was really kind of a stream. There was hardly any water in it. So anything could walk back and forth, and apparently they did. So the night we were leaving, I'd say night, the baboons were screaming, and they said, "Oh, there's a leopard on the ground." And about 2 in the morning, for some reason, Chris couldn't sleep, and she's sitting up on the end of her bed with the blinds are up, and the leopard walked right by. And so we were telling the guard this, and he said, "Oh, just a few weeks ago," he said, "I walked around the corner, and there were 5 lions sitting on the grass." And he said, "I put my hands up, and I covered my eyes and my face, and I said, I just backed up slowly till I got to the kitchen, and I went in the kitchen and locked the door, and there I stayed." So we did a couple safari drives, and that was amazing in the park. Hippo, go ahead. Yep. Isn't that cute? Can you see the crocodile? Yeah, okay. There's another one. Yeah, they're there. These are called makuros. They're like our canoes that our Indians carve. They carve them out of trees, and they paddle in them and fish in crocodile-infested waters, but they do. This is a water buck, and the guy was telling everybody that when Noah had completed the ark and all the animals had come in, that he had just finished painting everything, and he told all the animals, "Don't use the toilet because I just freshly painted." And the water bucks weren't paying attention, and they sat down. So they have a ring around their bum. So that's called a puku, and these are impalas. Giraffes. Go ahead. Yeah, more. And we probably saw giraffes every day too, right outside of our campground. They were fun. Zebras, little ones, warthogs. They're so fun. When they run, their tail goes straight up in the air like a pencil, and sometimes all you see is the tail because they're kind of short and they're in the grass, but you see this tail. Anyway, they're cute. The elephants, baboons. Oh my, we had baboons. But we did have a baboon inhibitor with us, otherwise known as a slingshot. And I think all of the guys had fun. Anyway. Some amazing birds. The eagles up there are called a fish eagle, and they're really a cousin to our bald eagle. If you saw them, they're very similar. And our bald eagle is technically a fish eagle. So that was, And we did see the lions. That was really fun. Yeah. So apparently this night, right before we got there, a leopard had killed an impala, and the lion stole his kill, and they had a snack. And these 2 little guys were supposedly, now this is Wild Kingdom here at its best, right? The mama lion would have put them somewhere and told them to stay while they were on the hunt. And they were supposed to stay put, but they're typical kids, right? So they're running around, and we can see them. And there was this tree there with this little crook in it, and we said to the lions, you should run up that tree and get in that little crook. That'd make a great picture. And the one little lion just runs right up there, and then we said, well, the other, you should go too. And I mean, we're like way away. And he just runs right up there, and they positioned themselves in that little crook, and we took our pictures, and it was really fun. Next, yeah. This is a hyena. Leopards. We saw several leopards. And then one of the days we were there, in our chalets that we were staying, there was some information about things you could do in the area. And Chris saw this little piece of information about this African textile mills. And we said, we were going to go to one of the schools down nearby. We said, we'll just go there, having no idea what we were going to see. So we went to the textile mill, and oh my goodness, we were just amazed. These African artisans were stunning. So freehand, this guy's drawing. Can you see the giraffes that he's got this tube, and it's just a flour and water paste that he draws the stuff out with, and then someone paints it around where he's drawn. Go ahead, and they work on the stuff. And this guy, he's the original Home Depot mix your own paint guy. And he literally just had the primary colors there, and he would just dip his spoon in, and he had swatches he was trying to match, and it was amazing. We were just like in awe watching him just by eye what he was doing. And then they bake it, they do several processes, and when they're at that point, they scrape off that original paste and let it dry in the sun some more, and then they sew it up into whatever they're doing, and they make these amazing creations. So just about everybody on the team spent a lot of money there. Yeah, it was fun. And the last night that we were there, the lodge where we were staying, they made a buffet for us. And so we had a buffet meal together. And then, our sunset. It's beautiful sunsets. So I would like to invite the team to come up and share their moments. Mine. My moment truly was that school that had, that private school with the first and second graders. I would go there in a heartbeat again, even though it was a long ways. Here we go, just down the row.
Okay, so there's so much you could share. We could tell stories for hours and hours. So this is how the Lord had me journal, and so I'm just going to run through my journal really fast. Africa 2015. Flying far, tired, spent, landing, driving, Africa, Malawi. Wow, it's going to make me cry. Expectations, hope, hidden fears, Sean, Reese, family, packed in, drive, shopping, settling in, red dirt, huts. Wayne one day said, "Oh, are you going back to your hotel?" No, it's a hut.
There were no men.
Maybe a cockroach. Teams, ABC, cooking, cleaning, church, people, smiles, hugs, sisters, brothers, family for a moment. Rest, relax, tomorrow, a new day. Desire to be, throngs, function, lose focus, me, meet needs, so many, trust, listen, find. Crack of hope, first hug, first day. Drive long, one man's vision, many little ones. Drive very far, African forest, big trees. More kids, more driving, touching only a fraction. Tools for the future, hope for sparks, fraction, yet throngs. It's your breath in my lungs, facing teachers, grace, 2 schools, one new, one old, many more faces, lives halfway around the world. Drive long, border, wait, pay, arrive, Africa out of a movie, sweet savannah sleep, safari, tea, biscuits, hippos, elephants, warthogs, bucks, zebras, picus, impalas, baboons, monkeys, lions, giraffes, birds, dark drive, spotlight, an elephant mouse, hyenas, hippos, lion cubs, bush babies, lion pride eating a kill, leopards, scared herds huddled, chameleon, beauty. Drive too far, bumpy beyond, school, more lives lived a world away. The dust of Africa. Attack eyesight, humbly submit, struggle in faith. Hot, more animals, swimming, ready for home. Best dinner, leopards, head home. So many roadblocks, trust, home, love, and family.
My favorite part was the kids, because every time I came to the school, Colm would go sit with the kids his age, and I would be left at the soccer field with 1,000 kids. Or more. And they would swarm you. The worst part is they can't understand you, so you can't really like say, wait, stop. And then they can't understand you, so it's hard to talk to them. So I play soccer, and then the last school we went to, I played jump rope with the kids, and then my favorite animal that I saw on the safaris was a leopard, because they're so pretty. The lions eating the kill was super duper fun too. One time Miss Chris took a picture and she got it right when the lion yawned.
There's a lot of awesome stuff. I think one of my favorite parts was a lot of the villages we went to in the different schools. We would go to their local village church, and it was awesome because it wasn't a Sunday, but everybody would just show up and start singing, and it was just awesome to realize it's just the body of Christ and the diversity that's in it, and seeing Jesus and their culture and then their joy and their warm hearts and smiles. Yeah, just the focus on relationship, that is just so different than here. And yeah, just learning to slow down and actually see people, and we're in just such a fast-paced culture and doing what we need to do, but just seeing the love that they have for one another, and even just the church growing through relationship. And it was awesome seeing Pastor Kanan, and like every time we'd come to a church, just his relationship with the other pastor and their love and honor of each other, and just seeing how the church grows that way and just through loving one another. And it was awesome. And all the little kids were just amazing, and find their way right into the depths of your heart and rip it right out. And it's just awesome seeing the love of Jesus through them. And yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I was so happy to be able to connect with the church worldwide. It's just so interesting being in another culture, another place, and you still see we serve the same God, and we have love for one another because we're united in Christ. And it's just so fun to be able to connect with those people. And it was also just gripped with humanity's need for Jesus, and also the impact we can have just in simple acts of kindness and generosity and goodness, like PALS, which is not super simple, but a fairly simple tool, or just giving someone a pencil or whatever. Like people over there, especially, just the gratitude that you see when you give them simple things. And I'm just moved over here. How can I just be simple in my obedience and simple in my generosity to see others encounter Jesus ultimately? So that's the short of it.
It's really hard to pick out just a couple of things because it was just so incredibly life-changing. The very first morning when we went to the church service, I was just undone and just started crying in the church service, just thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in Africa, and all of these people are worshiping all around me. And so I'm crying at that point. And then Jackie introduced the team, and she hadn't been planning to, but she shared my story of Victoria's word to me when she was 9 or 10 about she saw me with all these African children around me, and I was teaching them from the Bible. So she's sharing that story to them and encouraging them about their children. So then I'm crying again. And so the first time that we're actually out and about, then I'm just undone with God's goodness. And then on Monday we went to the first school. And at the first school, I was actually with the children, and with the second school, I was in with the teachers. But I got up, and the children, it's like I said, it gave me a whole new understanding of what the Bible meant when it said that Jesus felt the press of the crowd. Because it was overwhelming at times to just have all these children just pushing into you and wanting what you had, or just wanting to touch you. I mean, you'd shake one hand and then 30 hands would be stuck out for you to touch. And so that first school, there's kids about 270 degrees around us, and they're pushing in and in and in until we basically just have about a foot in front of ourselves for our space. And after we did our skit, then I was sharing with the children, and then just this overwhelming sense of, Lord, this is what you showed Victoria. All these kids are here in front of me, and I'm doing what you said I would do. And it was just, I can't even tell you how my heart felt at that time. And then I realized that standing right behind me was Victoria. And so it was just a wipeout of knowing that you really stepped into what God's plan was. And that's why after that, I'm like, well, okay, Jackie, I'll go talk to the teachers. But when we were in there, Joel and Jackie did most of the talking. I said, but I've got to be out with the children. And some of the schools, when we would share, some of the times I did a salvation message and just talked to them about how much the Lord loved them and how he cared for them and had so much for them. And one school, I think it was a school in Zambia, I shared and had a really fun translator there named Moses, and he was really into it. And so just had the kids who wants to know Jesus, and there's 500 kids, and all their hands just went up into the air. And so we just started praying, and they wanted Zambia's, what seemed to be much more into the English than in Malawi. And so he wanted me to pray in English and have the kids repeat after me. And so I did that. And right when we were done praying, the wind started blowing. We were under a big tree, but the wind just began to blow, and it was like one of those woo moments, And so I just told them about getting filled with the Spirit. And so then we prayed, and there was just such a sweet presence of the Lord there. And so to know that I was doing something that Tori saw 15 years ago or whatever, and just to find God's favor. I just felt God's favor, and his love was amazing. And then just to highlight the other thing, and I won't talk about it long, but the Rotary meeting to me was super, super powerful. To have that man be there, the deputy governor, DG, they called him, there, and he had a very vibrant, magnetic personality. And so that, he walked out with it under his arm like a man on a mission. And so that evening was very impactful as well.
Trying to journal every night was very hard, trying to put it all into words, and just so many kids. It was just going to a school here, and that's mainly what I work on is schools, being an electrician. So I see kids in schools and how they operate here, and to go there and see how a school operates there is just mind-blowing. Just 6,000 kids running around between 5 different buildings and 200 plus kids in one classroom, and it's just incredible to see, and then to see how much they want to know the Lord, even in the schools. That's what they teach, is they still put faith into the schools, and our interpreter would kind of get the kids calmed down by start to sing a song, and it's songs about Jesus. That's what they're singing at school there. It was just an incredible time being there with my mom and my son.
I just want to start by saying someone can't explain to you what you're going into. It's so much more than that. So to prep us and say, well, this is what's going to happen, there's no way you can ever be ready until you experience it. The schools were amazing. One day in particular, it was one of the, I don't know if it was the 3,000 kids school or the 6,000, but my heart, I was so overwhelmed because it was like these kids wanted to get so close to us, they wanted to touch us, and they were squishing all these littles, and I was like, I can't save every one of these little kids, and just looking around the crowd and seeing one little girl standing up and just crying because, she's getting just thrashed around, and I can't reach her, no one can reach her, and then these other little kids, it just broke my heart. Like, so many kids that want what we have, and they want to be near us, and I can't save them all. And I was just so overwhelmed, and I couldn't, got in the van. It was just, and then we went to a little church, and I got prayer because it was just like, there's so much, in my heart going on, and I could never be as prepared for this. And it was cool because later that night, the Lord spoke to me, and he's like, you can't touch every one of these kids, but the ones that I highlight, he highlighted ones to me, and I tried to get pictures of them, and it's like, I saw this vision, just my wall in my room of framed pictures of these kids, and it's like my prayer wall for around the world. And so it's like hanging these pictures up and knowing like, the Lord highlighted this child, and I'm going to commit to pray and believe for this child, to live his life or her life to the fullest. So that was really, I think, the moment my heart was like, okay, part of my heart's in Africa, and it was really sweet and tender, and just, there's a lot of kids, and you can't reach every one of them, but, we can just pray. And one of the other parts for me was walking through the village, just experiencing and seeing how they live life. And I got to pray. That picture was actually one of the ladies I got to pray for, and her husband had left her. And so I got to pray for her and just speak over her life. And Pastor John was there to translate. And for me, it was so special to walk through that village. And I'm like, I could just spend the whole day here seeing how they live and living life with them. And especially even that, I was going to share the story about the little girl with malaria, and just, praying for her and knowing, like, if we weren't there and if we weren't able to bless them with money to take a taxi, that baby would be dead. And knowing that we went there and we saved a baby's life, it was just like, the Lord used us to save someone's life. And what a testimony, of us walking out our lives, like being obedient. Like, I'm calling you to go, and we're going just to be vessels, and he used us, and knowing, I was like, I could go home knowing that I saved someone's life. Like, that's pretty amazing. And encouraging to see a baby who had malaria and able to run around and just loving life. It was really cool. And I do have a testimony. I want to share one last thing. There's so many I could share, but the testimony is, before I went, I felt like I was under attack. My body, like I was having hip problems and just pain, and I could hardly move. And I was like, gosh, in 2 days or 3 days, I'm flying out. How am I going to sit on a plane? And I did go to the doctor, and they, had some suggestions of some things I can do. But the minute I got on that plane, I had felt no pain the whole time. Like, it was like, man, I don't feel aches, I don't feel pain. And it was just, that attack before we're going. It's like, the enemy's trying to destroy me, but I'm bigger than that, and God's bigger than that. And I'm not going to feed into that. And knowing the whole trip there, I was pain-free. And that was just amazing to me. So.
It's kind of was really different. I had to step out of my comfort zone, like a lot, so much. It was really something that sometimes was really hard, and like the day there were 6,000 kids, they were all shouting, I don't know.
Mzungu.
Yeah, Mzungu.
White people.
Yeah. And they all running by the van when we were pulling in, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna go out into that crowd. But it got easier, so.
That's right.
I got to say that the kids were fabulous, and our team dynamics were excellent. Are a couple of things that I just want to start off with. I think we worked well as a team. Seeing Miss Chris in her element was just awesome, and I think we just flowed well, worked well together, and then we had a lot of goofballs on our team, so that helps out, because when you have 6,000 kids, you need someone to draw attention to themselves, Reese, so that the rest of us could get through the masses. Yeah. So a couple things I want to share real quick. A little just overwhelmed because I think one of the biggest things down there is the people have absolutely nothing. I mean, when you say nothing, you see it on TV for 38 cents a day, you can sponsor this child in this village, and you see the one kid. Well, you get down there, and that one kid is one of millions, and they have nothing. And so you're in that, and you're just like, oh man, their natural situation is dire, but their hearts are so stinking warm. Mm-hmm. Malawi is the warm heart of Africa, and these people are precious and so loving and warm and so receptive to the gospel. And I mean, even the salesmen on the sides of the road that are selling their handcrafted items, you just bring in Jesus and they know. I was telling one guy, he's like, you need to buy my stuff. I said, no, I'm like, I decided I was going to support some people in the villages instead of buy my stuff from you. And then he's like, I understand, it kind of wants me to buy his stuff, but then he understands that the need of the other people it's just huge in that area. And so me as a visionary type of person, I just immediately started thinking about what can I do to help these precious people. And so I haven't really been able to let that go because I went as a chaperone for Noel, but God always has so much more than that. I knew it, that there was a purpose for me in this besides being a chaperone. And so he just really drew my heart to these beautiful people that are just our brothers and sisters in the Lord, and then the work that they're doing on the ground, and also just to highlight what Joel and Jackie have done 14 years in Malawi. You see the fruits of their labor, and you see the relationship that they've established with these churches, and like Pastor Kanan, awesome man of God, and Pastor John, our interpreter, I just really just embraced that man as a brother in the Lord, and so when I told him at the end, I said, okay, I'm going to go home and strategize about what I can do to help you guys, because in the natural they have nothing. But I understand why white missionaries go to Africa when they feel bad about themselves, because the soil is so stinking rich that you just say the name of Jesus and people understand, like, yes, I need him. And so then you feel really good about yourself in the area of evangelism. And so anyway, it was just a very impacting trip, and I really just appreciate everybody on our team that was there, and and so I just want to leave you with a little bit of Chichewa that I learned, Malungu Onokokanda, which means God bless you. So that's all I can speak, though.
Mwadzuka Bwanji.
Nadzuka Bueno Kaeno.
Nadzuka Bueno. Zikomo. One of the things that struck me, when we were at the first camp on the first week, there was a groundskeeper that was, everything was dirt, and he was outside of our little bungalows sweeping the dirt sidewalks and keeping the leaves up and making everything as beautiful as he could. His English name was George. And I asked him from the first morning, how do you say good morning in your tongue? How do you greet people? How do you interact? Because in going into a place, I didn't want to go in as a ugly American expecting everybody to adapt to me, but wanted to connect, culturally as much as possible in the brief time that we were there with the people. And one of the primary ways to do that is language. Jackie and Joel did such an amazing job of preparing us before we went with an entire manual to try to educate us about the cultural things and the language and the demographics and the people and to be able to go and to love and connect on a grassroots level. So anyhow, on that first week, the first day, I asked George, the groundskeeper, how do you greet people? How do you say good morning? And what I learned later by the end of the trip was he taught me the formal form of that, the very respectful, formal terms with that. And the first day, practice, got nothing out of it. And it took like 3 days to get down just that basic greeting. But then I got as much mileage out of it as I could for the next 2 weeks with greeting people and saying hello, and just feeling like the Lord is in that. One of the beautiful things of their language, Chris was alluding to the warmth of the people. And it's really true. It's a warm land, temperature-wise, and the people have a warmth and a love of, in the midst of all of that need, with that icebreaker of just saying good morning, it was like a flip switched, in the campgrounds, from being treated like a wealthy Western tourist to all of a sudden, hey, this person wants to connect with me. This person cares about me. And in that exchange that we did, I said, good morning, how are you? And Colm said, I'm well. How are you? And what George said to me when I was asking him about how do you say this was, he said, the essential part of this greeting is the kaya enu, which means and you, back to you. And I loved this, that they're in the heart of the people and intrinsic into the basic greetings of the language is this caring, this reciprocal thing of, I'm not just going through my day, hey, but I want to know about you. How are you doing? And everywhere we went, when we went into the schools, from the children to the teachers, there was that heart. And also, I think it was what was said about the heart of Jesus and the receptivity to Jesus, of how we would go in and the icebreaker would be to sing a song about the Lord. And I thought about all the freedoms that we have as Americans. And I thought about our school system and trying to imagine if I went up to one of the public schools in Meade or Mount Spokane with my kids, and we were doing an assembly, analogous to this, of imagining them taking the teachers off, and in the meantime, with the kids, we're sitting there giving the call to salvation and the Jesus message, how that would go over. And you can imagine the phone calls and the backlash if you went into one of our public schools and did that. And that's exactly what we did. For 2 weeks, we went in and boldly gave the Jesus message, and thousands of kids responded with salvation. It was amazing.
Well, I had heard before going to the trip that this same gender will hold hands, but I wasn't expecting that anyone would hold my hand. But at one of the schools, like on either side of me, just guys like grabbing my hand and like or just walking, talking, and they're asking all these questions. And I was really having a great time, and they're like taking photos. This one guy, one of the teachers had a phone and was taking photos of us, and the kids are like swapping out, taking photos with me, and yeah, I'd love to go again.
We're going to do 2 quick things, and then we'll be done. If team members, if you could just come and grab a few things. Some of you donated during our Rocket Hub campaign, and we did. We said we would personally shop for you while we were there, and we did. So we have some Dave and Becky Bruner. So we want to give out some of those gifts that we purchased. Oh, they're not there. Okay, we'll give them to them another time. And then John and Chris, if you would come, and we have a special gift that we purchased for you. Behind your back when you were looking the other way. Wrapped in the finest Malawi paper, yeah.
So nice.
It's a picture, you'll just have to come to her house and look at it. Made all out of banana leaves in very intricate detail. It's really beautiful. And then we learned a song while we were there, if we could cue that up and get it ready, that we want to try to do for you. And it was a song they sang for us everywhere we went, and we've sung it for years.
We should have everybody stand up and follow us.
Well, let's go through it once, and then let them watch us and laugh at us, and then we'll make them join us. So it says, the basic song is, there's no one like Jesus, there's no one like Jesus. He shall never be found. I have walked around and around, looking around and around, searching around and around, shall never be found. There is no one like Jesus, no one like Jesus. So it was a lot of fun, and we're going to try to do it. So do you need words? Would it help? Words down?
Balibe ofana ni Yesu, balibe. Balibe ofana ni Yesu, balibe ofana ni Yesu,
Thank you very much. I'll turn it back to Chris.
They're like, are we dismissed? So that is just kind of really just a snippet version of a very full 2 weeks. We were together pretty much nonstop. All day. Chris was right. Our team was awesome. I know that God just had a special plan and purpose for the team that he sent there. It was so wonderful. My heart melted when I watched Chris and Brad, especially with the kids. You could just see their heart. And I never knew Sean was such a photographer. He was so diligent in capturing not just kind of the what was happening, but the eyes and the heart and everything behind that. And it was just an amazing, amazing time. For those of you that haven't been aware of the project, we have a table out in the hallway. There's brochures about the PAL. There's a website on the back. We are going back. I say we are going back. Again, it was just one of those situations where you come home now and it's just like, do I really need that? Is that really necessary? I think I'll return that. But just, God just burdened my heart, but it was an awesome, awesome burden. And I encourage you to get together with some of the other people. There's lots of photos on Facebook, but sometimes the pictures, there's just so much fun story that goes into them. In closing, I'm going to share one of our favorite stories of the trip. Well, there was actually two. The time that Sean and Chris walked hand in hand down a dirt road together. That was one. And then the other, the Border Patrol, not Border Patrol, there are police stops all the time in Malawi. Like you're driving down the road and you get waved, there's like a barrier in the road and you get waved over and they make you pull over. And, when you get pulled over here in the States, not that I know because it's never happened, but you have to show your proof of insurance and your driver's license and your vehicle registration. Well, there, it was just like random. They would ask you for different things at different times. And so when you would pull up, it was always a little nerve-wracking, although this is when Joel's wonderful personality would, just come shining through, because he'd be so warm and, oh, I love your coat. You really stand out, and it's really good to see you. And anyway, so it's pretty nerve-wracking. So sometimes they would just flag us through. Other times they would pull us over. Other times they would walk around the van. So one time they're walking around the van. And it's a little scary when they're walking around the van because, last year they got fined because they were carrying luggage in their van, and the van was not licensed to carry cargo or luggage. So it was just nerve-wracking. So it was also extremely hot. And so we had our windows open, and I was in the back row, and Reese was in the back row, and Annie was right next to him, and Carrie was next to me. And so we're pulled over, and the guy, whenever they'd see the kids, they would start talking to him. So they started talking to Reese, and the guy's, he says hi to Reese, and Reese says hi back, with this big Reese smile. And then he says, what's your name? The police officer asks, and Reese says, Reese. Well, Malawi is one of those nations where they don't make the R sound. And so he says, Reese. And so the police officer repeats back, Dees. And Reese goes, no, Reese. And the police officer again attempts to say that. And the rest of us are starting to sweat now. And Reese goes, no, Reese. And the police officer attempts to say it again. And then a third time, Reese is like, no. It's Reese. So the rest of our trip, Reese was no longer Reese, but he was Reese. But he had no fear. He knew that guy had a good heart. And the rest of us should have trusted as well. So that was one of our favorite fun stories, but there's lots of those. So get together with some of the Africa team and hear more. Hope you just, like I said, you just got a snippet of what it was, but what a powerful time to touch the nations with the love of Jesus, to take such a wonderful tool like the PAL, and to have all these opportunities to not only bring something to them, but to come home just overflowing with God's goodness and his heart for the nations. So remember all the activities this week, Wednesday night, starting up again, Awakening Cry. Matt Rudolph will be here next week, and we'll be dismissed.